The best of two worlds. It's really about self-expression in the West, and in the East, it's more about presence, being present, being, the Zen Buddhist thing about really being meditative, being in the moment. And again, I'm generalizing. Not every Asian is like that. Not every Westerner is like that, right? But in having both worlds, I'm really appreciative that I had that. I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to do this, and the parents that enabled me to have this kind of life. And I feel very grateful for that transformation. But growing up in Singapore, because it's such a small country, we were always outward facing. So I learned about geography and the history of other countries and was fascinated by it. And I've kept that kind of curiosity about the world and other people always present around me.
Wow, this is my honor to have my mentor and business coach to join me with this show. Hi, how are you, Sunil?
Oh, very good, Pei-Ming. It's my honor to be here. So I appreciate your invitation. Thank you.
I met Sunil actually end of 2022. He has been running a lot of great networking events in the meetup group with 30 plus years of experience being a business mentor and help building and implement successful business plans for small business owner, entrepreneurs, and company worldwide. He also using the meetup as the platform to grow. More than 200,000 business owners follow him, participate his programs, and also collaborate with his teaching. I'm so excited to work with Sunil and his team to build my meetup platform. I'm into the Gene Keys, which is using the human design system and ancient I Ching to contemplate about my journey and also help others see themselves in different lanes. So that will be our conversation to share our wisdoms and hoping our audience can get some insights from our stories.
Great.
So let me ask the first question relate to your journey, because you were born and raised in Singapore, but now you live in the United States for a long time. I'm just curious about your journey, how you shift and stay in the West.
That's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking. I've been reflecting on it quite a lot, especially over the last 30 years, but more so recently as I grew older. I reflected more on my past and the changes that I went through coming here from an Eastern culture to a Western culture. And the Eastern culture is significantly more about, and this is a generalization, of course, it's more about presence, more about being present with people, being attentive, politeness, courtesy. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the West, but it's more about, that kind of presence, more about other people. And coming here, I quickly learned that this is more of an individualistic kind of culture. That was the first kind of shock, right? It's a culture shock. The best of two worlds. It's really about self-expression in the West. And in the East, it's more about presence, being present, being the Zen Buddhist thing about really being meditative, being in the moment. And again, I'm generalizing. Not every Asian is like that. Not every Westerner is like that, right? But in having both worlds, I'm really appreciative that I had that. I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to do this, and the parents that enabled me to have this kind of life. And I feel very grateful for that transformation. But growing up in Singapore, because it's such a small country, we were always outward facing. So I learned about geography and the history of other countries and was fascinated by it. And I've kept that kind of curiosity about the world and other people always present around me. And then also understanding that it's not just self-expression, you also got to bring presence to conversations.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point where you express, there's a point where you listen, and perhaps you do both. And when you do both, you create an interesting human being, but also an effective human being, because you have both of the East and the West.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'm answering your question. I think I am. But that is my experience, moving through these two worlds.
I think that help you become more sensitive and become more effective business coach, because you mentioned about two key points, listening and expressing. Actually, we sometimes even didn't hear ourselves. We just want to say something and didn't even know what we just said, right? If you swimming in the same water, you don't even know you're having water with you, right? But if you change that fish to different water and there's, ooh, the taste so different, they start to aware, oh, I'm here, I'm doing something, right? So I don't know, through your coaching, how did you align with your client in the way say what they really need? Did you think the insightful knowledge or wisdom help you see other better?
I mean, definitely. And there's always the space for being wrong, in your assessment of what goes on, right? I mean, people talk about compassion, but real compassion, practical compassion is when you can genuinely meet somebody where they're at, right?
Mm,
Most conversations kind of devolve at some point to trying to get people to come to your way or my way, right? I
mm,
want aiming to come my way. My way is the right way. I have the right course for you. I have everything perfect, right? And we forget about meeting people where they're at.
mm,
And my good friend Mitch Axelrod, he's a mentor too. He's a little bit older than me. He actually came up with the term meeting people where they're at. He's a
mm.
brilliant salesperson. I always acknowledge him. Wisdom is one thing, smart coach is one thing. Wisdom can only come from experience. As you grow older and wiser, you tend to pay attention to your body and how your body responds when you hear someone talking. We call that intuition, but a lot of it is really embodied.
Yeah.
And that's why AI will never replace wisdom, you know, uh, as much as they like to think it would. And maybe at some point they'll figure it out, but
Mm,
chances are not, because you need a body for it. So you learn to feel things in your body, you learn to get in someone else's world, and having the east and the west, because you need that presence, right? That quiet to really listen, pay attention more, take your mind off yourself, put it on the other person. When you have the combination of that kind of intimate awareness and at the same time the willingness to express yourself, because if you don't express yourself, then you're like the quiet monk who has wisdom but can't share it, and his wisdom is useless.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Well, they can telecommunicate
You
out
can tell
in
it.
a
Yeah.
way.
I mean, if you can do that, hey, great. I haven't quite gone to the telecommunication part.
But like most of us not that high, so we cannot
Yeah,
get that
yeah,
information.
yeah.
So we need to
I
go
can see,
where
yeah,
we are, right? So
where
we
we
can
are. Yeah,
communicate using our expression and language,
yeah.
which is not necessarily high vibration, but it's needed. People think I just need to be smarter. I just need to learn more. I just need to do a lot of things. But the embodiment is really some things we already have. So if
Yeah.
we start to slow down our lifestyle, or just like you said, to be listening more and just be present,
Yeah.
then hey, I think I know this one, or we get this. We don't need to chase that much. We just need to calm down, slow down, and listen.
Yeah.
And through our body and through people's words, we can get different insights if we allow that, right?
We do, yeah. I found recently I had an insight around, I
Mm,
mean, I joke around about being older and all that, but, I don't feel old. The wisdom has made me actually younger because it's the awareness of being more connected with my body that makes me actually feel
mm,
younger than I felt when I was 14 and I was distracted a lot. When you're present and you're not distracted by the latest girl walking by you, and you get more present,
mm,
you get to enjoy life
yes.
in a more present way, more intensely, in fact. And so I'm really enjoying that, imparting that to clients. I have a program where I teach people to do mechanical stuff like marketing and all that. I mean, you've been to my meetup training where I'm showing
Mm,
you things to do, right? Things to
yeah.
do. But there's a reason why things are done that way, right? And so, in understanding the reason, you get present to your own power in using this tool to express your power and also be present with people. I didn't distinguish that until this moment with you, but my meetup trainings are really an expression of both presence, your presence and theirs coming together, coupled with the need to express yourself,
Mhm.
express your wisdom. So it's really beautiful to realize that now.
Mhm.
And it's that realization that gives me a lot of energy in my day.
We all go to different phases. When we're
Sure.
young, we are really just go out seeking, getting, learning our skills. But that's normal and that's needed. That's how I get into this human design system. Particular gene keys, if I may, I can share a little bit about gene keys. Based on ancient hexagrams, they have 8 different phenomena. Our ancestors just using the observation about wings, water, and all this different phenomena, and they create a system to teach us how to accept ourselves. We are based on the 4 elements, the wind, the water, the fire, and the earth. Those 4 elements, everything, the plants, the rock. So you go down to the system that actually is teaching us we are all from the same source and there's no separation, but we do have a differentiation. So that's how we express ourselves in the energy level. So gene keys to me is genetic, everybody share the 4 bases, but then with the combination, we have so many different expression. And also you can add spice to it, which our emotion, our thoughts, our life experience, our past experience, whatever, they just added up to that DNA, we become so rich. And that's the purpose. We need to go far, need to do something we are not
Mm,
first. So gene keys to me is a tool for
mm,
me to see myself going through life. And they also has all this portals. You can shift, you can choose the language, how you speak to yourself. That's
mm,
how they have the shadow level of the vibration. And if you accept yourself, then you start to feel more at ease, then you
mm,
shift the gifts. So the gift and shadow is always there. If you don't have a shadow, you don't even know you have a gift. Right now, we know there's so many evidence of thoughts, emotion, our diets, everything in our environment actually trigger our DNA have different expression. And that's how I see the gene key as a tool. Um, so I think for the rest of the conversation, I would like to, if I'm honored to be able to share your pearl sequence. Think about if the pearl need to be a pearl, we'll start with the sand, right?
mhm,
Something just get into the clam and the clam couldn't push it out and
mm.
they try to be peace with it. So I wonder in your journey to become a business coach, do you feel some kind of situation maybe give you a little nudge so you make become more?
Well, yeah, I've been through quite a bit of trauma in my life, probably more so than most other people, not everyone, because some people have had worse trauma than I have, obviously. But, in dealing with that trauma, I mean, I dealt with it. I climbed every inch of that ladder dealing with my trauma. I mean, there were other people involved, and I did work on myself to forgive them. And then I didn't just keep it to myself. I found them and face to face, voice to voice, I forgave them, and it created a transformation in them, like
Mm,
emotionally and mentally and ontologically. And so I knew what I did was meaningful, not just words that I told myself. Like I knew I'd done the work and I'd come full circle. I was born again in a very good way.
mm,
And it has nothing to do with religion or anything. It's just really just inquiry,
yeah.
psychological, emotional inquiry, and philosophical inquiry as well. And so, I took what would be a big rock, a sandstone, in my oyster flesh, and there were, at least 2 of those, and learned to polish them and make them part of me. So they have become part of me, and have become bigger than the trauma, because the trauma got initially incorporated in my being, and then I created a whole new being out of it.
Mm,
It's like the whole transformation from a pupa to a butterfly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're a whole different being now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's why I love what you share about the gene keys, because if you get awareness to such a point, and then you don't make the awareness mean too much after a while. You get used to the shock of discovering, right? What you don't see. Well, that's not as bad. The awareness is not that bad. It's okay, it's just what it is. And then you can create something new. So I created a new being. I mean, I literally, when I got to the point where I could normalize my trauma in the midst of polishing it, etc., I said, hey, I'm okay with the way I am now. And just as for fun, just out of choice, pure choice. Let's face with a blank canvas. Now what do I do? When you're
Yeah.
complete, you look at it and go, well, I got nothing to worry about. When you have nothing to worry about, what can you create? Well, it's a blank you can create anything and everything, or nothing if you want. It's what I call the field of choice. Not just one choice, it's all choice, all kinds of choice you can think and you can't even think of, and so, I said, well, I could be a surgeon, I could be this, I could be that, and I could be, I mean, I was thinking, oh, I had to go get an MBA in finance from Harvard, because a lot of my family went to Harvard. I said, I should go to Harvard, get an MBA, and go live in Boston in some expensive suburb, marry, have an arranged marriage, which is what I do in my culture, and have this great life, and then whatever, die, I guess. And I said, okay, that's a possibility. That's one choice. But then I really looked and I said, I really like to make a difference. I really like to be creative. I like to connect with people, and I like my well-being, and I like other people's well-being to be managed or at least enhanced. And I like this thing, integrity, which kind of puts everything together. So those are my 5 cornerstones that I distinguish. And I distinguish even more clearly in the recent years. But back then, when I was young and I went through this completion and I forgave all these people in my life from the past, I said, based on those cornerstones, what should I do? And I said, well, it looks like really being someone who teaches, coaches, speaks, and helps other people transform is really what I want to do. And so it wasn't a terribly hard choice to make, but it wasn't a straightforward choice.
Yeah.
Because all the fears come up and all that, concerns, oh, I can't make money. I can't live in a leafy suburb of Boston, all that, right? All that stuff comes up for you. And then I realized over time that what I really desired is completion, to be complete, to be whole and complete and present in every moment, to experience life. And that actually exceeded my love for money. And then when I got that, I got loving money and sales, not at the expense of other people, but loving money and sales inside of being whole and complete, which included being creative, connected, and all that. So it really transformed my future. So I love what you're sharing about the gene keys, because if you get that kind of awareness about you, it gives you a key. I like the word key in it, because it's a key to the future. It's also a key to transforming your past and your present and your future in one moment.
Yeah. Wow, we can make a master class by that, your wisdom there.
Yeah.
It is just, we were told everything has a sequence, it's a timeline. There is the consequences. You have to go A in order to get B. But now we get more and more of the quantum view. Oh no, that's just a different parallel universe. Like, how are you going to be choosing what you want to do is the most important skill. Because if you limit yourself, think about, I have to get A before I can get B. That linear, the reductionist thought, will be just take forever. You just have work hard, and in the way you don't have joy. It's just like freeness, like, okay, sometimes maybe we get sick, even worse, right? But now I believe we have more other views about quantum reality. Jinky helped me to see that, because there are 3 different level of consciousness. So when you raise up to the gift level, the things start change. You don't see yourself in the same lens. Even you still don't have something you think you need to have, but you don't feel like I have to. Kind of like, yes, I can still choose to, but that's my choice. So you got more power in you other than say you feel like you're puppets. I think more and more people begin to understand they really have their life in their hands, right? Like how you see yourself. That is amazing. I mean, we can all get to that realization because even I don't think you understand or know gene keys before, but you just say the essence of the gene keys. But the pearl sequence I want to emphasize even more because you say you want to teach because you think they give you the most joy. You can let people start to lead themselves other than to give them what they want. So your personal branding, that is the top of your pearl sequence, also your life work is coming from not sure, the half-heartedness. That means you're testing water, not really sure when you're young, that kind of thing, but you shift to the gift become commitment. I believe you're already shared. You're committed is really to complete your life and also support and share. And in the highest level is devotion.
Wow.
So definitely you're 30 plus year with all the trauma, all this experience, you never give up. Then you start to enjoy it. You just mentioned about you make that sand become bigger and shinier.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, devotion, my most revered mentor who took me under his wing in 1991, well, went through Zen training in Korea. I mean, they told him you need to go to the United States and become an entrepreneur. So he did. He became a fantastic one. And then he coached people. It's amazing. He always said the key to being a really good, actually just effective in anything is what I think you refer to as devotion, which is you bring 100% presence and commitment to everything you do. Like you really give everything. So like, for me, when my clients give less than 100%, I go along. I'm polite. I call it politeness. I'm courteous. I help them as much as I can. But if someone gives 100%, I give 200. And just because I choose to, not because motivation or whatever. Just because I choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the game. Someone gives 1,000, I give 2,000. And that kind of approach in life, and regardless if that person's a nice person or not, regardless of their personality, I'll give 2,000. Sometimes I don't like the person, but I'll give 2,000 because he's giving 1,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think engaging in that for so long has taught me the value of the beauty of people, that I discovered real compassion in doing that for people. And it's not perfect because you're never perfect as a human being. You can't be, or else you're something else. You're going to get mad from time to time. You're going to get upset, sad. But overall, even in the midst of all that madness, I have a genuine compassion for people. And it's the practice of just giving yourself 100%. It doesn't have to be activity. It could just be really paying attention, just being quiet and listening, right? Giving everything you can to this person in that moment. I
Yeah.
really love what you're saying about all of this. The word key in Gene Keys is also fascinating because it's a key to real wisdom and real presence and discovering who you are and then expressing it, right? So that's beautiful how it's constructed. And I love everything you're sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
cannot get away to learn more about this. That's how I merged that Gene Key teaching
Wow.
in using the habits. So I have this formula called tune up, clean up, and speak up.
Tune up
Once tune
and
up, that's alignments, and then
yeah.
clean up all this past memory, limiting belief. You are free, just like you say, you are the blank, the
Blank slate.
nice whiteboard. What are you gonna draw? That's our option. That's speak up session. Not necessary to study gene keys like I was, but in a way to using the wisdom to allow to embody, and we all have everything we need just to tune up, clean up, and speak up. Then
From what I'm hearing, what you provide is a key to get people getting breakthroughs in their life. Because if they tune up, clean up, and speak up, you've gone through the transformational stages and you have a system for doing that. Very few people have systems. Usually they talk a lot, that's the system.
Yeah, well, it worked for me. Now I'm like collecting data because I'm a
Yeah,
scientist by trade. I need
yeah,
more data to,
right.
so that's how, Sunil, you can help me bring people and I can start to accumulate data.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
we have definitely a system.
we have an outstanding partnership, because you're bringing stuff to the world, which I want you to bring, and I have a platform that can help you do that, right? And but you're also helping me clarify through your description of the gene key system. What I bring is ultimately also a transformation because I've gone through those stages that you described.
Yeah,
So you're really creating a process, the system people can use to create breakthroughs in their lives, things that they're stuck in. Like if you're stuck at a plateau and you don't know how to get to a new place that's
mhm,
better for you,
yeah,
then this is
yeah.
a system can help you get there.
Well, that's how I see it. That's how I become very passionate about this. It's like, gosh, I was stuck for 30 years.
Wow. Mm.
Just living in this negativity, unhappiness, and think about I'm just here to be nothing. But then I say, no, that's just the process. Every shadow has a gift. Right? We
Shadow.
just need to face the shadow. Don't label it as a shadow. Label it as an opportunity or
Mm.
some kind of empowerment language.
Yeah.
Then that's the key. Once you hold on to the key using the pearl, kind of
Yeah.
polish up, become a golden key, and everything can be open from that. But it
Yeah.
just need to shift that perspective, right?
It sounds like you really enable people to shift. It's like a new category of thinking that enables you to shift and perhaps even embrace your shadow to the point where the shadow disappears and is left with something more beautiful, more
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah. Well, think about when shadow happen, it must have a light source somewhere, right? And we are kind of in the middle because we are matter. We have dense, sun heavy stuff. And
Mm.
so you definitely have a shadow in front of you.
You need to have some
Right?
light somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. But you just need to know that's happening because they are together. Everything is the pair, the
That's really
same thing.
brilliant because if you have a problem, it means you have an objective.
Hmm.
If you have an objective, you have a future you're going through. That's something, that's your light, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so the shadow is just an obstacle you have in a way that means nothing in the big scope of things compared to the light that you're about to produce.
Hmm. Yeah,
And I
exactly. Hmm.
feel like
Yeah,
you're really creating a system for people to see that and make that real in their lives. So their shadow is not a big deal anymore, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow actually is the sounding board. So we know there's the other side we can choose to go.
It's really beautiful what you're sharing because the shadow is like a teaching for you now.
Mm.
Yeah. And if you can help clarify what the shadow is, and if people can see the shadow, then they can learn from it. And then it disappears because it fulfilled its objective to teach you something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I cannot take all the credit about what I'm sharing Gene Key because I'm part of the Gene Key team because I can see that mission is so needed for today's world. We go through so many chaotic situations, dark moments, but we have to remember everything is not here forever. It's just the
Mhm.
process, right? When we go through the darkness, that means the light is not far. The
Don't you
point.
think that
Mhm.
when people get closer to their dark shadow,
Mhm.
it means they're about to uncover their light as well, right? And it
Yeah.
gets probably gets scarier the closer you get to the dark. But you don't realize that the light is behind you and it may just be 1 inch behind you. You know,
Mhm.
all you got to
Exactly.
do is, oh, there's a shadow. It's mine. It's me. I turn around, I see the light, and I'm done.
Yeah, that's the playfulness. When we're too serious looking the shadow, if you just for fun, you turn your head
Uh,
around, hey,
just
that's
turn
the
your head
light,
around.
right?
Hey, there's a sun there. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. And for the pearl sequence, I want to share one insight. I think that's fascinating based on your profile. The pearl sequence has four sphere. One is called vocation, another is culture, and you have a life worth branding. The center is called pearl. And I put those things in the, a blender because the eight different phenomena, right? I put it in the blender and come out with your 50% water.
Hmm.
Water, we know, so important. That's the elements to make us alive, right? And you share, and the waters go everywhere. And
Mm,
water is so strong, it can
mm,
penetrate anything they want to go, right?
right.
So think about in the way you need to go places. You
Yeah.
need to go through things with patience. Then you devote it to you need to go there. But
Mm,
also indicate water in the ancient time, they are about floods. Your
wow.
journey, you might have something like kind of rush it out, then
Yeah.
knowing you can build back so you don't need to hold on to old things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I see your God as 50% water. And your pearl actually doubles thunder. Thunder mean initiation. So in your life, in your business particular, you will initiate something and quick, because just like a lightning, and then you
Yeah.
have something come out. And that is part of your pearl sequence. And the other relate to the culture, that's like the business structure. For you, it's the best to be a partnership. But that key for you is the fire and thunder again. So put those together, you
Mm,
have a lot of fire and initiative that like a thunder, but you do need to go through a journey with a lot of water.
yeah. Yeah. That washes it away, but not be attached to it being washed away and being able to use the fire and thunder to rebuild again is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And that's valuable to know, to put it in that language, because now I can see my future in a different perspective. And yeah, it's fascinating because, I've spent a lot of my life, about every 3 months, I have a massive breakthrough.
Mm.
Usually preceded by, people like to call it depression. It's not a depression, it's more like a confusion, like kind of stuck. You kind of don't see the light, but you got to like really keep pushing until the light, or, turning around, playing, and then you suddenly see the light, then you see the insight, then you have a breakthrough and you move through that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm very comfortable with that now. I'm a lot more comfortable. Still don't like it, but when it happens, I'm just like this, just like
Well,
this.
the other wave, we just have to learn how to ride
Another one.
the
Oh well,
wave.
there it comes again. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Sunil, and I couldn't wait to see your next move. And I'm so happy I'm tagging along with your wave and to be part of your
Fun.
team.
Yeah.
So how people can find you and get your wisdom?
You can come to my website, Sunil Bhaskaran, which is my name.com. If you want to know how to build a community that feeds your business and feeds your webinars every week or up to 12 times a year or 48 times a year, I can do that very affordably for you if you're such a person. And you can reach out to me and set up a time with a website called meetupchat.com. So meetup, meetupchat.com. And you
Mhm.
can set up a time with me and we can talk about anything that's pertinent to you, that's useful to you, that has to do with creating a breakthrough. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I got so much values from it. And I have to say, Sunil never reserved the answer. You ask, he respond. Like sometimes we not advise to stop,
Oh,
but the wisdom is when to approach and when to stop and
yeah.
reserve your energy. Sometimes we waste our energy to do something we're just entertain the drama other than really just enjoy our presence, right?
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, sometimes it's the wrong time to press the accelerator.
Reset button, reset button.
Sometimes
Sometimes
it's
we
a
forget
reset.
that. Yeah.
Sometimes it's reverse.
Just have some fun. We turn around, we see more lights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I so appreciate Sunil. Any parting message you want to share with our audience?
I think what you said is very critical about play. You got to bring play to your life. Because if you get to what my mentor used to call, if you get too significant or about things that are really insignificant, then you're human. But if you want to be wise, human, then you have to be prepared to take the things that you think are significant and consider that maybe they're insignificant,
Mm.
which should lead to you back to being a 5-year-old where you can make up whatever you want about your life and play it. You want to be a fireman, you be a fireman in that moment. You want to be a nurse in that moment. If you want to be happy in that moment.
Mm.
And that comes from play. If you don't have a sense of play, then you have to look for reasons. Sometimes the reasons are not there to be happy. You have to invent them, so
Mm.
that's what I would say in parting.
Wow, thank you so very much for your wisdom, and
Thank you for
definitely
the
we will
opportunity.
see you around. Have a good fun life.
Oh, thank you. You too. Live well. Live well. That's the most important thing, right? Live
That's
well.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Bye.